Let's go there with Shira and Ryan, Channel Q.
Okay, we're talking about New Year's resolutions still. We gave you our take on it. And there's actually science behind this, which really is about creating habits, new habits in your life, whether it be for a new year or just, looking at your life every day or every week, whatever you want to do a check-in, which, by the way, I think check-ins are really important with yourself. Like, even if it's weekly, like, where am I at? Am I happy with myself? Am I happy with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it?
Sure, we actually have an expert on the line.
And now, joining us to give her take on this is Lisa Ordoñez, who is the Stanley and Pauline Foster Endowed Chair and Dean of the Rady School of Management at the University of California, San Diego. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, you wrote this paper. You've done a lot of research on this topic called Goals Gone Wild. What is your take on New Year's resolutions? And then I want to get into goals as a general topic.
Sure. So my research is in the field of management. So we were thinking about organizations when we were talking about goal setting, and many organizations have them and often pay people to achieve them. But many of the things that we study do connect to individuals. And so, the message from the Goals Gone Wild piece was not necessarily to say don't make goals, but be careful in how you set them. So I won't necessarily say don't set New Year's resolutions, although there's lots of reasons why that 80% of all New Year's resolutions fail by February in a U.S. News will Report study. So there's just a whole bunch of reasons why, right? They do help us get started, right? But they don't motivate us to continue. So, one of my big examples is working out. That's kind of something that I struggle with. I'll do great for 6 months and then off for 6 months and so forth. But so they do get us started, but they don't help us along the way. They can be discouraging, right? And we can miss the mark, and then all kinds of negative emotions. And right now, of course, with the pandemic, we don't need even more reasons to beat up on ourselves.
Well, and that's my thing, right? I honestly, and I talked about this before, I don't really enjoy resolutions. I don't think they're great. I don't make them. They are just not my vibe. And so I feel like as we're going into the third year of the pandemic, should we really be focused on this idea of like self-improvement? Like, is that really important right now for us?
Well, I think we all have to decide what are the things that we want to work on. But I do think that there's just a whole host of other things that come with setting resolutions and putting the line in the sand. And my favorite example, and all of this is based on other research studies, not necessarily mine. My favorite example is the what the hell effect. You've got a goal for only so many calories in a day. You realize you've missed it, and you pull out the box of donuts and continue eating. So that in that case, that goal or that resolution backfired and made us even worse off. So I think we have to be really careful about how we set them and how we treat ourselves in the progress. I think, for me, self-improvement has always been something I've focused on. So I don't think that in itself is bad, but I think it's what we do to ourselves when we don't measure up.
Oh, yeah. I really think so much of change, like any change that we want to make, it takes so much discipline. Like that is the bottom line, and it takes us shifting our behavior. It's not just an action. Like you actually have to create new neural connections in your brain for you to make that action work for you.
Right. Well, we have to understand how we work as human creatures. And in fact, I think you said it just right. I think I would not talk about resolutions, and I would talk about forming good habits. And I feel like I've been promoting my colleague's book she just published. She's a professor at Wharton, Katie Milkman. She has a new book that hit the Wall Street Journal list of top books, How to Change. And what she focuses on is what are the things getting in the way of creating these good habits? Because we have lots of habits, some of them good and many of them not so good. So obviously we as human beings do create habits. How do we make them purposeful? How do we pick the ones that we want and displace some of the bad habits? And I think that book kind of brings up some of the issues. Some of them might be yours, some of them might not be, but they help you. And she has some tips for things that you can do to kind of, get over those problems.
Yeah, I love that. I got to check that out. I also love the book Atomic Habits. It makes it really accessible to shift your habits. So thank you so much. What?
Exactly. So because, being healthy is a lifelong thing. It's not going to be this year I'm going to be healthy and it's done. Right. Learn a language and, you're done. You're constantly learning, you're constantly doing. And what you need to do is find a way to make this part of your lifestyle.
That's true. Well, that was Lisa Ordoñez from the University of California, San Diego. Thank you so much for joining us. Really interesting.
Well, thanks for having me.